I do not consent. A Voice in the Dark, Lori Elliot, 4/15/2022. I thought I was done with this crazy lesson stuff. Lessons are our painful experiences. It is funny how we grow, change, adapt, fuddle, shine, walk with the angels, and then all of a sudden, a loss takes all those beautiful sunny years and puts you in a dark place. Well, that's what happened to me a few years ago. So this last year, not being one to exit on a blah note, chose to regain what I once was and forgive God. Now, if that sounds harsh, well, I remembered being a beautiful little glowing ball of gold light, happy, full of excitement. Then I came to Earth School. Oh boy, many lifetimes, so many experiences, knowing it all was part of the plan. I have always created whatever I wanted. Riches and that were not part of my wants. Being a mother was my greatest joy. Finding great sorrow at being a parent was not in the plan, at least not how I felt about it. Today, I have forgiven all past lives and future lives, and most of all this one. Each of us has a path we choose every moment. We have to accept that people, even children, leave our lives because they are on their path. They do not fit in ours. Loss is a horrible lesson of faith. Life does go on. Doesn't matter how the loss happens. One is affected deeply by any type of loss. When it involves our children, it is on another level. I fortunately had hope for a reconciliation eventually. I had faith in my love and relationship with my daughter and granddaughter, that in time perhaps we would be close again. The pain was so unbearable. I was lost. I hated God, and God had always been my best friend. But not in my mind when my daughter walked out the door and took the grandbaby and said goodbye. That's the day I lost my way with God. We do incredible things to hide our pain. I quit my job and opened a flea market space. My husband went to work for the union hall. We threw ourselves into work because I couldn't deal with the loss of two of my favorite people. The years went by. One day I looked in my granddaughter's room and said, I have to let go. So I took everything down and bagged it. I turned her room into a storage room for my small business. One day my husband was attempting to fix the plumbing. He loved to drink, and well, drink and work do not go well together. So I was so mad at my husband, I called my dad to call my daughter to come fix my plumbing. I didn't trust anyone else to come do it. I had forgotten we were estranged. My anger was so strong, my dad even forgot about it and called her. She came right away. We all kind of didn't even think about it for some time. We actually talked about the 4 years and so on. The rest is history. The lesson was clear. We each had our own paths we were walking, unsure of ourselves and, of course, entangled in karmic past life relationships. That it was never God's fault. And boy, did I do a lot of apologizing to God. I learned, had I given myself up to faith that all was as it should be, I perhaps would have managed a bit better through the whole ordeal. There were many lessons upon lessons during this time in my life. Dealing with a spouse who was an alcoholic, a daughter as well. Realizing that my childhood was also part of the alcoholic life, which is sad, and I had buried those years and the pains from my childhood until I married a man just like my dad. Lord knows it was a shock and a relief to understand my childhood and my dad's attitudes. The bottle hid in the Lazy Susan. Alcoholism damages families. Families are just humans trying to make it. trying to get along, and well, some are good at it, some are not so good. Alcoholism puts a totally unreal reality to the family unit. Of course, the alcoholic doesn't see it. They are desperately holding on to something that lets them ignore their inner insecurities and or whatever their emotional feelings they cannot face. Alcohol gives a false sense of security and confidence. It also only lasts as long as everything is going exactly as the drinker wants it to be. Then anger rises up that can and usually is violent. Children who grew up in these environments are always on edge, never sure when the drinker might go off. It takes years for an adult to grasp and understand it was not their fault, all those horrible experiences and words used at you. So being married to my second husband allowed me to see the truth of my childhood and allowed me to heal from it. They say you marry someone just like your father, mother, depending on your gender. When we do this, it is to see the lesson in it. Most people do not get it. They stay in said relationships due to being familiar. We tend to stay where we feel normal. I did stay just long enough for it to add to my own feelings of failure and lack of confidence. It took years for me to even be able to address these things. Alas, I have. The road has not been easy, but it has been freeing. Find a therapist. Or like me, I asked God, and dang, if he didn't come through for me, spun me into the deep, dark night of the soul. This made me face all my pains and fears. Gee, I thought I was done with this years ago, but unfortunately I hadn't done all of the work before. Facing everything directly inside of us is difficult, but worth it. We are totally freed up from the heavy weight of the suppressed feelings. I always suggest to find a good hypnotherapist to help with past life and current situations that have caused these bad feelings. Seeing as a third person and observer under hypnosis helps go through things quicker, and it does not feel as horrible as you thought, especially as a child. Then forgive it inside. Forgive it inside yourself so as to free yourself from carrying any more of that person's wrongdoings with you. Remember, this is about healing yourself. Allow the universe to handle the person and their wrong behaviors. Now I am alone. Now what? When I found myself home alone searching for answers on what to do next, I was no longer a wife. My children were grown with their own households. My granddaughter was even growing up quickly and looking at college. I even lost my dog to the Rainbow Bridge. I was truly alone. I realized that for the first time I could follow my inner heart's desire for my art and writing. My art has actually taken the forefront right now. I had to regroup everything, my joy, my purpose, my expectations of self. I find that now, after several years of personal torment, that I still have a lot to offer the world, and I love a lot of things I truly had put on a shelf for later. Later is here, and wow, finally I can freely explore the universe of all its wonders and create as I please without concern. I guess the point is, do not check out until you have firmly learned to love yourself as self. Not as a mother, father, worker, husband, wife, child. Just you. Your joy must be from deep within and brought forward in great excitement that you are alive and enriched by all that you have experienced. Lord, death isn't but a separation. I should know. I talk to all who have gone on to the light daily. This life and all the rest are but stories written by us to experience great emotions and still be able to love and shine our light. The knowing is this: nothing we experience here is permanent or real. Our soul is real. We all catch up again. We explore other things again. So live. Live out loud. Shine. It's okay. It is what we were meant to do. Experience and move forward. Love and blessings, Lori. Note: most of us have to learn how to love ourselves. What does that mean? It means valuing yourself as important. Just as important as anyone else in the family, friends, anyone. Making time for just you and your own interests. Learn to put up boundaries with everyone. It will feel awkward at times. That's okay. It takes time. But try. This is all about you learning to value yourself and show the world the you that has been hidden behind titles that are over. One last thing. As long as you are taking breath, you have the right to take up space. Let me read that one more time. As long as you are taking breath, you have the right to take up space. Never forget that.